The morning sun shone on the waters of New Seoul Bay. Lieutenant Han Da-hyun smiled as he watched his 5-year-old daughter Sua build a sand castle. His wife, Ju Eun-ji, sat under a beach umbrella, reading reports on her tablet. "Higher, Daddy. I wanted to reach the sky," Sua said, pointing to her tower of sand. Da-hyun laughed and added more wet sand to the top. "Even the tallest buildings must have a strong base, little one." "Like your ships?" Sua asked. Her eyes always lit up when he talked about his work in space. "Yes, exactly like my ships." Da-hyun's 3-day shore leave was almost over. Tomorrow, he would return to his post on the UES Dauntless, Earth's newest defense vessel. For now, though, he just wanted to enjoy this perfect day with his family. Eun-ji looked up from her work. As a top quantum physicist for the government, she rarely took time off. "The water looks nice. Should we go for a swim before lunch?" Before Da-hyun could answer, all their devices began to beep loudly. Emergency alerts. Da-hyun's military communicator, Eun-ji's research tablet, and even the public screens along the beach walkway flashed with the same red warning. Da-hyun grabbed his communicator and read the message. His face turned pale. "What is it?" Eun-ji asked, moving closer. "Unknown objects detected at the edge of our solar system," he said quietly, so Sua wouldn't hear. "Many of them. Very large. Moving toward Earth." Eun-ji's phone rang. She answered it, listening with a serious face. "Yes, sir. I understand. I'll be there in 30 minutes." Da-hyun was already packing their beach things. His communicator showed he needed to report to the nearest transport station immediately. "Mommy, Daddy, why are we leaving?" Sua asked, confused as her sand castle was left behind. Eun-ji knelt down. "Daddy and I have to go to work, sweetie. Something important has come up." "But you promised we have the whole day." Tears formed in the little girl's eyes. Da-hyun picked her up. "I know, and I'm sorry. We'll make it up to you, I promise." They rushed to Eun-ji's mother's apartment, which was nearby. After quickly explaining the situation, they left Sua there. "Be good for Grandma," Da-hyun said, hugging his daughter tightly. "I love you to the stars and back." "I love you too, Daddy." Sua hugged him back, still not understanding why their perfect day had ended so suddenly. Outside the apartment building, Da-hyun and Eun-ji said their goodbyes. "Whatever these things are, be careful up there," Eun-ji said, her voice shaking a little. "You too. They called you in pretty quickly. The quantum research facility. They want all hands on deck." She didn't say more, but he knew her work was classified. They shared a quick kiss before heading in opposite directions, not knowing when they would see each other again. 6 hours later, Da-hyun stood on the bridge of the UES Dauntless, watching the main screen in horror. The unknown objects were now clearly visible, a massive fleet of ships unlike anything humans had ever built. They moved in perfect formation, their dark hulls absorbing light rather than reflecting it. "Any response to our communications?" Captain Moon asked the communications officer. "No, sir. We've tried all frequencies, all known protocols. They're not answering." Da-hyun studied the tactical display. Earth's defense fleet was moving into position, but they were outnumbered 10-1. "Lieutenant Han, what's your assessment?" Captain Moon turned to him. Before Da-hyun could answer, the alien fleet suddenly accelerated. Without warning, brilliant beams of energy shot from the lead ships, hitting Earth's orbital defense stations. The stations, humanity's most advanced military technology, exploded into fragments. "Battle stations," Captain Moon shouted. "All ships, defensive formation." Da-hyun rushed to his post as alarms blared throughout the ship. The peace he had enjoyed with his family just hours ago now felt like a distant dream. Humanity's first contact with alien life wasn't going to be peaceful. It was going to be war. 3 months had passed since the aliens attacked Earth. The once beautiful skyline of New Seoul now stood in ruins. Smoke rose from bombed buildings, and few people dared to walk the streets. Commander Han Dahyun, promoted after Captain Moon died in the second week of fighting, crouched behind a fallen concrete wall. With him were his two most trusted soldiers, Park Jae-ho, a quiet man who never missed a shot, and Kim Ta-won, who could make a bomb out of almost anything. The Terror Patrol passes this point every 2 hours, Dahyun whispered, checking his watch. We have 10 minutes to cross to the research building. Why risk our lives for some lab equipment? Asked Ta-won, adjusting the makeshift explosives in his pack. Orders from high command, Dahyun replied. Whatever's in that lab, they want it badly. Jae-ho scanned the area through his rifle scope. 3 guards at the front door, 2 more on the roof. Dahyun nodded. We'll use the tunnel entrance. Let's move. The 3 men ran low across the street, diving into a drainage tunnel. The smell was awful, but it kept them hidden from the Terror's heat sensors. The aliens, who humans now called the Terror after hearing their self-identification in intercepted communications, stood over 7 feet tall. Their skin was pale blue, with 4 eyes set in a face that reminded Dahyun of ancient Earth sharks. They were strong, smart, and had technology far beyond humanity's reach. Yet humans kept fighting. Small groups like Dahyun's struck quickly and disappeared, stealing what they could and killing when necessary. After crawling through dark tunnels for 20 minutes, they reached a hatch. Dahyun checked his map and nodded. This should come up inside the lab's basement. They climbed up into a dark room filled with scientific equipment. Dahyun pulled out a small device and it began to blink. The tracking signal is getting stronger, he said. Whatever we're looking for is close. A sound from above made them freeze. Heavy footsteps moved across the ceiling. Terror soldiers. They're not supposed to be in here yet, Ta-won whispered. Jae-ho readied his rifle. Plans change. Dahyun pointed to a locked door at the back of the room. The tracking device blinked faster when he pointed it there. Cover me, he said, moving toward the door while Jae-ho and Ta-won aimed their weapons at the ceiling. Inside the small room, Dahyun found something unexpected. A Terror soldier strapped to a table. The alien was injured, blue blood seeping from wounds on its chest. Medical equipment surrounded it, much of it clearly human-made. The Terror's 4 eyes focused on Dahyun, and it spoke in broken human language. Kill me. Dahyun raised his weapon, then stopped. This was the first time he'd heard one of them speak directly to a human. Why are you here? Why attack us? Dahyun asked. The Terror made a sound like painful laughter. Not choice. Running. From. Worse. A crash came from the outer room. Gunfire erupted, followed by the high-pitched whine of Terror weapons. Commander, we've got company. Ta-won shouted. Dahyun looked at the tracking device, then at the alien. He realized they weren't sent for equipment. They were sent for this Terror. Can you walk? He asked the alien. Why? Help. Because I want answers, Dahyun said, cutting the straps. What are you running from? The Terror sat up weakly. The great devourer comes. Eats worlds. Eats stars. We need fortress worlds. Your Earth. Perfect. Before Dahyun could ask more, Jae-ho appeared at the door, blood running down his arm. We need to go now, Commander. Dahyun helped the Terror up. He's coming with us. Jae-ho looked shocked but didn't argue. Ta-won set charges. We have 3 minutes. They made it back to the tunnel just as explosions rocked the building above. As they crawled through the darkness, Dahyun's mind raced. If the Terror were running from something worse, something that eats worlds, then humanity's fight had only just begun. And somewhere in this broken city was Eunji, working on Project Exodus. He hadn't seen his wife or daughter in 3 months, but he had heard rumors of the project. A last-ditch plan if Earth couldn't be saved. With this wounded alien at his side, Dahyun wondered if it was already too late for Earth. 2 weeks after capturing the Terror soldier, Da-hyun received new orders. His team was to protect a special convoy traveling to a hidden base in the mountains. The message came directly from what remained of Earth's government. A convoy. In open daylight. Taiwan shook his head. That's suicide with terror ships patrolling everywhere. We have orders, Da-hyun said firmly. And we'll have help. 6 more teams will join us. The terror prisoner, whom they now called Blue, had been taken to a secure location. Before leaving, he had drawn a map of the stars, showing Earth, and then pointing to a distant area where he said the Great Devourer was coming from. The scientists estimated humanity had perhaps 2 years before this mysterious threat arrived. At dawn, Da-hyun's team reached the meeting point. Large trucks waited there, covered with torn tarps to hide what they carried. Soldiers surrounded them, looking tired but alert. As Da-hyun approached, a familiar figure stepped out from behind one of the trucks. Yeonji, he whispered, not believing his eyes. His wife looked thinner than he remembered, with dark circles under her eyes. But when she saw him, her face lit up, and she ran to him. Da-hyun, they embraced tightly, both fighting back tears. "Where's Sua?" he asked urgently. "Is she safe?" Yeonji smiled. "She's already at the mountain base. She's been there for months." "What is all this?" Da-hyun asked, looking at the convoy. "What are you doing here?" "I'm part of Project Exodus." She lowered her voice. "Da-hyun, we're leaving Earth." Before he could respond, a soldier called out that it was time to move. They climbed into a truck together as the convoy began its journey. As they drove, Yeonji explained everything. After the first attack, a group of scientists and military leaders created a secret plan. We knew we might not win this war. She showed him pictures on her tablet. Deep inside the mountains, 3 massive ships had been built in secret over the past 10 years. "We always feared we might meet hostile aliens someday," she said. "These ships were our insurance policy. They weren't finished when the terror arrived, but we've worked day and night since then." Using terror technology, Da-hyun guessed, thinking of the parts he'd helped steal over the past months. Yeonji nodded. "Their tech is amazing. We've learned so much." She took his hand. "The ships can each carry 10,000 people, seeds, animals, books, everything we need to survive. We're taking the best of Earth with us." The convoy wound its way up mountain roads. After hours of tense driving, they arrived at what looked like an ordinary cave. But as they drove inside, the cave opened into an enormous hidden valley. Da-hyun gasped. 3 huge ships stood in the center, gleaming silver in the light. Thousands of people worked around them, loading supplies and making final preparations. "We launch in 3 days," Yeonji said. "The terror are closing in on all our remaining strongholds. It's now or never." A tall man approached them as they stepped out of the truck. "Dr. Ju, we need you in the engine room immediately," he said, then noticed Da-hyun. "Who's this?" "This is my husband, Commander Han," Yeonji replied. "Da-hyun, this is Dr. Kang Do-hyun, my colleague." Kang barely nodded at Da-hyun. "We have a problem with the drive systems. If we don't fix it, none of the ships will launch. I'll be right there." Yeonji turned to Da-hyun. "Come with me. I'll take you to Sua first, then you can help with security." As they walked toward the ships, alarms suddenly blared throughout the valley. A soldier ran to them, panic on his face. "Commander, the terror have found us. They're attacking the outer defenses." Da-hyun looked at Yeonji, then at the unfinished ships. They had run out of time. The exodus would have to begin now, ready or not. Chaos erupted as the terror forces broke through the outer defenses. People ran toward the ships while soldiers fought to hold back the alien attackers. "Get to the Genesis ship," Da-hyun shouted to Yeonji. "I'll find Sua." Yeonji grabbed his arm. "She's in the children's section of Genesis. I'll take you there." They ran through the crowded base as explosions shook the mountain walls. Inside the Genesis ship, People pushed and shoved to find their assigned places. Dahyun and Yeonji fought through the crowd until they reached a large room filled with children and caretakers. Sua sat in a corner, clutching a small stuffed rabbit. "Daddy," she cried when she saw him. Dahyun swept her into his arms, holding her tight. "I missed you so much, little one," he whispered. A massive explosion rocked the ship. The lights flickered. "Commander Han." A soldier ran up to them. "We need you at the security center. General Min says you're in charge of defending the ship during launch." Dahyun looked at Yeonji and Sua. He didn't want to leave them, but duty called. "Go," Yeonji said. "I need to get to the engine room anyway. We'll be fine." He kissed them both quickly. "I'll find you as soon as I can." At the security center, screens showed the battle outside. The Terror were closing in, but the ships were almost ready to launch. Dahyun organized the remaining soldiers to defend the loading ramps. Suddenly, alarms blared from the third ship, Horizon's Pride. "What's happening?" Dahyun asked. A technician looked up, face pale. "Someone sabotaged the engine room. It's going to explode." Dahyun grabbed a radio. "Evacuate Horizon's Pride now. Everyone to Genesis or Horizon." People streamed out of the damaged ship. Among them, Dahyun spotted Dr. Kang, walking calmly away from the chaos. Before Dahyun could reach him, another explosion hit the base entrance. Terror soldiers poured in, firing at anything that moved. "Close the ramps," General Min ordered. "We launch now, or we all die." "But there are still people out there," Dahyun protested. "We have no choice." As Genesis' ramp began to close, Dahyun saw his friend Taiwan outside, helping wounded people toward the ship. A tear blast hit him in the leg, and he fell. Without thinking, Dahyun ran down the ramp. Taiwan. He reached his friend and began dragging him toward the ship. The ramp was almost closed. "Leave me," Taiwan said. "You won't make it back." "I'm not leaving you behind." A soldier leaned out from the closing gap. "Commander, throw him. Now." With all his strength, Dahyun pushed Taiwan through the narrow opening. As he turned to jump in himself, a tear blast hit the ground beside him, throwing him forward. He tumbled into the ship just as the ramp sealed shut. The engines roared to life. With a tremendous shudder, Genesis and Horizon broke free from Earth's gravity, leaving behind the burning mountain base and the world that had been humanity's home. 6 months later, Dahyun stood in the observation room of Genesis, staring at the stars. As security chief, he worked long hours keeping order among the 10,000 frightened, homesick humans aboard. Yeonji entered the room and stood beside him. "Sua is asking for you. She won't go to sleep until you tell her a story." Dahyun smiled tiredly. "What about the FTL drive?" "We're making progress," Yeonji said. "But it's slow. Without faster-than-light travel, it will take decades to reach any habitable system." "At least we have decades now," Dahyun replied. "On Earth, we had days." A small alarm beeped on his communicator. Another fight had broken out in the common area, the third this week. The stress of space travel was wearing on everyone. As he turned to leave, Yeonji grabbed his hand. "Dahyun, there's something else. Dr. Kang has been asking questions about the FTL research. Strange questions. You think he's the one who sabotaged the third ship? I can't prove it, but I don't trust him." Dahyun nodded. "I'll watch him." He kissed her forehead. "One problem at a time. First, a story for Sua, then a fight to break up, then a possible saboteur. Just another day in space," Yeonji said with a small smile. Outside the window, the endless darkness waited for humanity's next move. 5 years had passed since Genesis and Horizon left Earth behind. The ships traveled together through the emptiness of space, carrying the last remains of humanity. Life aboard Genesis had settled into a routine. Children went to school, adults worked their shifts, and everyone learned to live with less space and fewer resources than they had on Earth. Da-hyun walked through the ship's main garden area, where plants from Earth grew under special lights. It was his daughter's favorite place. Commander Han, a young technician, called, running up to him. "Captain Lee needs you on the bridge right away." Da-hyun hurried to the bridge, where Captain Lee and several officers stood around the main screen. "We found something," Captain Lee said without greeting. "A star system with a habitable planet." The screen showed images of a beautiful blue-green world with swirling white clouds. "How far?" Da-hyun asked. 6 months at our current speed. But that's not all. Captain Lee pointed to another image showing strange structures on one of the system's outer planets. "These aren't natural formations. Aliens." Da-hyun felt his chest tighten. Not again. Not after all they'd been through. "Unknown," Captain Lee replied. "They appear abandoned. No energy readings, no movement." Eun-ji entered the bridge, her face bright with excitement. "You've heard the news." "About the planet or the alien structures?" Da-hyun asked. "Both." She lowered her voice. "But I have bigger news. The FTL drive works." Da-hyun stared at her. After 5 years of work, the faster-than-light drive was the breakthrough they desperately needed. "We tested it on a small probe yesterday," she continued. "It traveled the equivalent of a 3-month journey in just 2 hours." Captain Lee overheard them. "If this works, we could explore the system quickly and safely. Dr. Ju, how soon can we install the drive on a scouting ship?" 2 weeks, maybe less. Then we proceed carefully, Captain Lee decided. Genesis will stay at a safe distance. Horizon will move closer but remain ready to flee. We'll send a small team to investigate the structures. 2 weeks later, Da-hyun stood in the launch bay, checking his equipment. He would lead the scouting mission with 5 others, including Dr. Kang, who had insisted on joining as the science officer. Eun-ji helped him with his spacesuit. "I don't trust him," she whispered, glancing at Kang. "Watch your back." "I always do." Da-hyun kissed her quickly. "Tell Sua I'll bring her back something interesting." The scouting ship, equipped with the new FTL drive, launched from Genesis. In just hours, they reached the outer planet where the strange structures stood. From orbit, they could see what looked like a city built into the rocky surface. No lights, no movement, no signs of life. "We're picking up traces of an atmosphere in those structures," the pilot reported. "We can go in with just our suits." They landed near the largest building and carefully made their way inside. The architecture was like nothing they had seen before. Curved walls that seemed to flow like water, markings that might be writing, and strange devices untouched by dust or age. "This place has been abandoned for centuries," Dr. Kang said, scanning a wall with his equipment. "But the environmental systems are still running." Da-hyun moved deeper into the structure, finding what looked like a control room. When he stepped inside, lights suddenly came on, and a soft humming filled the air. "Everyone, freeze," he ordered. "Don't touch anything." Too late. Dr. Kang had already placed his hand on a glowing panel. The humming grew louder, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the room. It showed a map of stars, with one pulsing brightly. A signal was being sent. "What have you done?" Da-hyun demanded. Kang's face showed no regret. "We need allies if we're going to survive out here. I just called the owners home." The signal continued to pulse, reaching out across the stars. Humanity had just announced its presence to the unknown. "Everyone back to the ship. Now," Da-hyun ordered, grabbing Dr. Kang by the arm. "Let go of me." Kang struggled. "We need to wait for a response." "That's an order." Da-hyun's voice left no room for argument. The team rushed back to their ship and returned to Genesis. Captain Lee called an emergency meeting when they arrived. "What were you thinking?" Captain Lee demanded, glaring at Kang. "We needed to make contact eventually," Kang replied calmly. "Better to do it now, while we have time to prepare." Before anyone could respond, the communications officer burst into the room. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission. It's coming from the direction of the habitable planet." On the bridge, everyone watched as the main screen displayed a strange pattern of light pulses. "It's a response to the signal we sent," said the communications officer. Hours passed as the best minds on both ships worked to decode the message. Finally, Yunji figured it out. "It's an invitation," she said. "They're inviting us to the habitable planet." Captain Lee looked uncertain. "It could be a trap. Or it could be our only chance at finding allies," Dahyun said. After much debate, they decided to send a small team to the planet, with both ships ready to flee at the first sign of danger. Dahyun would lead the mission. The next day, Dahyun hugged Suwa goodbye. At 10 years old, she was tall for her age and smart like her mother. "Be careful, Daddy," she said. "Don't trust them too quickly." "I won't," he promised. "Take care of your mother until I get back." The journey to the habitable planet took only a few hours with the FTL drive. As they entered the atmosphere, they saw a landscape of purple forests and crystal-clear lakes. They landed in an open field where a structure that looked like a welcoming arch stood. As they approached, a group of beings emerged from the forest. These aliens looked nothing like the Terror. They were tall and thin with skin that seemed to shimmer with colors like oil on water. Instead of walking, they glided slightly above the ground. One alien floated forward. When it spoke, its voice sounded like gentle music. "Welcome, travelers from Earth. We are the Maroon. We have awaited your arrival since our outpost sent word." Dahyun was shocked. "You know where we're from." "We know many things. We have watched the stars for millennia. We saw the Terror come to your world. We grieved for you. Why didn't you help us?" Dr. Kang asked angrily. The Myron's colors darkened. "Our laws forbid interference in such conflicts. We regret that we could not act. But now you are here, and we offer you friendship." The alien who called itself Starlight led them to a beautiful city built among the trees. Everything seemed to be made of a crystal-like material that changed colors with the light. "Our people left the outpost you found centuries ago," Starlight explained. "It was one of many observation posts throughout this region of space." In a grand hall, the humans were shown images of the Terror spreading across multiple star systems. "The Terror are refugees, as you are," Starlight said. "They flee from something they call the Great Devourer. We know this force as the Silence." Dahyun felt a chill. "What is it?" "Long ago, it drove our ancestors from their first homeworlds. It consumes all in its path. Not just life, but energy itself. Where it passes, stars grow cold." Starlight's body pulsed with dark blues and purples. "If the Terror spoke truly, and the Silence has returned, then all species face extinction." Dahyun thought of Genesis and Horizon, carrying the last of humanity. "How do we fight something like that?" "We do not know, but perhaps together we can find a way." Starlight's colors lightened. "Your people have done something we thought impossible. You successfully reverse-engineered Terror technology. This gives us hope." Later, as the humans prepared to return to their ships with news of the Maroon, Dahyun looked up at the stars. For the first time since leaving Earth, he felt something he had almost forgotten: hope. But Kang stood apart, watching the Maroon with suspicious eyes. Dahyun knew their troubles were far from over. 3 years passed since humanity met the Maroon. On the planet now called New Earth, humans had built a colony beside the Maroon city. The two species worked together, sharing knowledge and technology. Suwa, now 13, loved exploring the purple forests with her Maroon friends. She learned their language faster than any other human. Dahyun stood on a hill overlooking the colony. Houses and farms spread across the valley. Children played in fields. It was almost like Earth before the Terror came. Yunji walked up behind him. "The council meeting is starting soon." He nodded. "More reports of strange signals from the outer systems." "Yes, the Maroon are worried." In the council chamber, humans and Mirian gathered around a star map. Starlight, who had become the main link between the two species, pointed to a distant sector. Our deep space monitors detected Terra ships here, Starlight said. They were moving erratically, as if damaged. Captain Lee, now Governor Lee of the human colony, looked concerned. Could it be the start of another invasion? We don't think so, Starlight replied. These are damaged ships, not a war fleet. Da-hyun stepped forward. I recommend we send a small team to investigate. Agreed, said Governor Lee. Admiral Han, please lead this mission. Da-hyun had earned his new rank by building Earth's new defense force. He would take 2 ships, 1 human and 1 Mirian, to check the terror sightings. Before leaving, he visited the engineering lab where a young man worked on spacecraft designs. Jun-ho, I need your help on this mission, Da-hyun said. Lee Jun-ho had been just 15 when Genesis left Earth. Back then, he was a stowaway hiding in the cargo holds. Now, at 23, he was one of their best engineers. What do you need, Admiral? Jun-ho asked. Your new sensor design. It might help us understand what happened to those terror ships. 3 days later, they reached the location of the terror sightings. Jun-ho's sensors picked up debris floating in space. Terror ships, all right, Jun-ho said, studying his screens. 5 of them, but they're just drifting. Da-hyun ordered the teams to be careful as they approached the largest terror vessel, full suits and weapons ready. We don't know what we'll find. Inside the terror ship, they found a nightmare. Bodies floated in the corridors. Some had clearly fought each other. Others seemed to have died without any wounds. Life support is still working, Jun-ho reported, but most systems are shut down. A noise came from a sealed room ahead. Da-hyun signaled his team to take position, then opened the door. Inside, 3 terror huddled together. When they saw the humans, they raised their weapons and fired wildly. Hold your fire, Da-hyun shouted to his team after taking cover. We're not here to fight. The terror kept shooting until their weapons ran out of energy. Even then, they hissed and backed away. Stay back, silence bringers. One terror growled in broken human language. We're not the silence, Da-hyun said. We're humans. The terror looked confused. Humans work with silence. Must be. How else you defeat us? Da-hyun lowered his weapon. We didn't defeat you. We escaped. What happened to your ships? Slowly, the story came out. These terror ships had been attacked by something unknown. It wasn't a physical attack. There were no weapon marks on the hull. Instead, systems just shut down. Energy disappeared. Many crew members went mad, attacking each other. It came from dark, the terror said. No warning. First systems die. Then minds break. Back on their own ship, Da-hyun and Jun-ho studied the terror vessel's logs. Look at this, Jun-ho said, pointing to an energy reading. Their power cores didn't fail. The energy was taken somehow. Da-hyun felt cold. The silence isn't just a name. It literally silences technology, takes energy, and maybe affects minds too, Jun-ho added. Da-hyun looked out at the stars. We need to get back to New Earth immediately. The silence isn't coming anymore. It's already here. 10 years had passed since humans settled on New Earth. The colony had grown into a thriving city. Children who only knew Earth from stories now ran through purple forests and swam in crystal lakes. Sua, now 23, had become an important diplomat between humans and the many species in the Myron Coalition. She had her mother's sharp mind and her father's strong will. She stood in the Coalition Council chamber, listening to reports from distant worlds. The news was not good. 3 more outposts have gone silent, a blue-skinned Myron representative said. That makes 12 in the past month. Admiral Han Da-hyun, his hair now streaked with gray, studied the star map. Each silent outpost was marked with a red dot. The pattern was clear. Something was moving steadily toward the center of Coalition space. "We need to evacuate the outer colonies," Da-hyun said. The Myron Council leader, Crystal Song, shook her head. "We cannot abandon our worlds without proof of danger." Junho, who had become New Earth's top engineer, stepped forward. "The pattern is proof enough. The silence is coming." For years, Junho had worked to develop technology that might protect against the silence. His team had created new ways to shield power systems, but no one knew if they would work. "We should send a research team to the edge of the affected zone," Sua suggested. "We need to understand what we're facing." Later that evening, Da-hyun found Yunji in her lab. Though older now, her eyes still lit up when she talked about her work. "The Terror captives we rescued have been helping us," she said. "They know more about the silence than anyone." "Can we fight it?" Da-hyun asked. Yunji sighed. "The silence isn't a fleet or an army. It's more like a wave that drains energy and affects minds." Before they could talk more, alarms sounded throughout the city. Da-hyun's communicator beeped urgently. "Admiral, we've received a distress signal from Research Station 7, a voice reported. Then, nothing. "Where is Station 7? Da-hyun asked, though he already feared the answer. "It was monitoring the edge of the affected zone. Sir, our long-range scanners show it's moving. On a direct course for New Earth." Da-hyun rushed to the command center. The main screen showed the station, a large structure spinning slowly in space. It should have been stationary, but now it was moving like a ship. "How is this possible?" Crystal Song asked. "The station has no propulsion system. It's using the emergency thrusters meant for orbit adjustment," Junho said, checking the readings. "But those shouldn't be powerful enough to move it like this." A transmission came through, full of static. A human voice spoke, but it sounded wrong, flat and emotionless. "We are coming. We are hungry. So hungry." "Who is this?" Da-hyun demanded. "Identify yourself." "We were Station 7. Now we are more. We bring the blessed silence." The screen showed the interior of the station. The crew moved stiffly, like puppets. Their eyes were completely black. "They've been changed," Sua whispered. "The silence isn't just destroying. It's converting." Da-hyun made a hard decision. Prepare defensive positions. If that station comes within range of New Earth, shoot it down. "But the crew," Sua began. "Aren't themselves anymore," Da-hyun said grimly. "Junho, I need your shields ready now, not next month." Junho nodded. "I'll need every engineer we have." As they prepared for the approaching threat, Da-hyun found a quiet moment with Yunji. "All these years running," he said, "first from the terror, now from the silence. I'm tired of running." Yunji touched his face gently. "Then we stand and fight. Together." Outside, the people of New Earth, human and alien alike, worked side by side to prepare their defenses. The peace they had built was about to be tested by a force that had destroyed civilizations far older than humanity's. But humans had never accepted defeat easily, not on Earth, and not here among the stars. The converted research station arrived at the edge of New Earth's star system. Behind it came a darkness that seemed to swallow the light of distant stars. Sensors showed it wasn't a physical cloud, but rather a field of energy, or lack of energy. In the command center, Da-hyun watched as the coalition's ships formed a defensive line. "The silence is larger than we thought," Crystal Song said, her colors fading with worry. "It spans half the system already." 3 Myruan worlds in nearby systems had gone dark in the past week. Their people had either fled or been converted. The pattern was always the same. First communications would stop, then the converted would emerge, speaking for the silence. "Junho's team is ready," Yunji reported. "The energy shields are installed on all major settlements." Junho himself burst into the room, his face bright with excitement, despite the dire situation. "We've done it," he said. We've found a way to fight back. Everyone gathered around as he explained his discovery. The silence feeds on energy, right? It drains power from our systems and somehow uses that to convert organic minds. He placed a device on the table. This works in reverse. It doesn't just block the drain, it pushes energy back. You want to overfeed it? Sua asked. Junho nodded. Exactly. Like eating too much food makes you sick, too much energy might disrupt the silence. The theory is sound, Yunji added, but someone would need to deliver this device directly into the center of the silence field. A heavy silence fell over the room. Such a mission would be suicide. I'll go, Junho said quietly. I designed it. I know how it works. No, Dahyun began, but Junho cut him off. With respect, Admiral, this isn't about rank or orders. This is about survival. I can fly through the silence's defenses and place the device where it needs to be. After much debate, they agreed. Junho would pilot a small ship equipped with all the shielding they could provide. Meanwhile, the coalition fleet would attack the converted station to create a distraction. The next day, everyone gathered to see Junho off. Sua hugged him tightly. Come back, she whispered. We need you here. Junho smiled. I'll try my best. As his ship launched, the coalition fleet engaged the station. The battle was fierce. The converted crew fought with strange new weapons that drained shields with a single hit. Junho's small ship slipped past the fighting, heading straight for the dark field behind the station. As he entered it, his communications began to break up. Entering. Field. Systems. Holding. His voice came through in fragments. On New Earth, everyone watched the sensors tracking his ship. It pushed deeper and deeper into the silence. He's almost at the center, Yunji said, watching the readings. The density is highest there. Suddenly, Junho's voice came through clearly, though strained. Drive damaged. Moving on thrusters. Almost there. There was a pause. I can hear it in my head now. It's old. So old and empty and hungry. Junho, activate the device and get out. Dahyun ordered. Device damaged in approach, Junho replied. Has to be. Activated manually. Tell everyone, it was worth it. His signal went silent. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the sensors showed a pulse of energy from the center of the silence. Another pulse followed, then another, growing stronger each time. The dark field began to break apart. Light returned to where there had been only darkness. On the main screen, they watched as the silence fragmented into countless small pieces that scattered across space, harmless. The converted station stopped attacking. Its crew collapsed, freed from whatever had controlled them. Later, as the coalition celebrated their victory, Dahyun stood with his family under the stars of New Earth. Junho saved us all, Sua said softly. Dahyun nodded. He showed the best of humanity. When faced with darkness, we don't just survive, we fight back with everything we have. Governor Lee joined them, looking up at the stars. The Maroon Council has asked us to lead a new defense force. They say no other species showed our courage. Yunji smiled. Peace was beautiful while it lasted. But when peace was no longer an option, Dahyun added, humanity did what it does best. We fought for something better. Above them, the stars shone with new possibility as humanity prepared to march further into the universe, bringing their fire to the darkness.